There we go. I have to watch this, and why not react? I was supposed to look at this like 3 days ago, and I didn't. It came out 4 days ago, so I saw it on my feed 3 days ago. And I was like, "Ooh, that seems like a juicy little thing to react to, a nice little movie for the YouTube." But I forgot, and since we were already in a YouTube mood, and I just did the Victrix Pro KO video, the first impressions, I may as well stick on the topic of gaming and fighting games. So salt is in all gaming, right? You can get salty truly about any gaming or sport or competition, right? It doesn't just have to be fighting games. And I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of fighting game stuff in here, but I think Core Gaming does a great job of relating non-fighting game stuff, fighting game stuff to non-fighting game players. So it's very easy to see like, okay, this is the situation for us, but it's very similar to a situation for some of you that play maybe battle royales or play card games or play sports. And I hope to God that we see some of those references here. If not, maybe I'll do a few pauses and talk about those as we go.
So, do you like making people feel salty?
Oh, yeah, I love making other people salty. It's one of my favorite things. Like, especially when
Okay, Punk.
I can make someone's family salty. So, like, someone's family will travel to a tournament with them or something, and they're right behind them playing. I love that feeling when I beat them and I see them either crying or they sad.
Oh my God, Punk is a demon!
Whatever the case may be, that is the best feeling ever, in my opinion.
While any competitive game can breed salt, fighting game formats make it an extremely efficient distributor of it. In the first year Street Fighter VI was at EVO, it had 7,083 competitors who paid to compete, and 7,077 of them got eliminated after losing just 2 best-of-3 sets.
Yep.
That's
how many people are done in the first. Well, no, I think half of the people are eliminated after round 2. Right? That's how it works.
gathered for just 1 weekend. An event like this is possible in a game where the length of a round is limited by a 99-second timer, and where a round can be over in seconds.
What a round! Oh my God, that's a 10-second round!
It makes one wonder if this is all just some cultish exercise in masochism or even sadism.
That felt good, didn't it?
A little
Like
bit.
feeling sour.
I think that's how all competitive things are, right? Because there can only be one winner, right? You're playing like 1v1 tennis or even 2 doubles tennis, right? There's only 2 winners out of a full tournament of people. So yeah, you could end up with silver, you could end up with bronze, but you're not first. So there could be some amount of salt building up, or some amount of salt that could have been built up because of losing. Like, I think that's a big part of competition, is understanding that losses are going to happen, and you got to be able to take them on the chin and keep moving. Because if not, like if you're salty all the time, yeah, maybe this isn't the right medium for you to enjoy. Not fighting games, just competition in general.
Or bitter. Feeling salty encompasses a range of negative emotions.
Let's go,
and
James.
It usually comes when something is not going your way in the game. If
What happened? Wait, what was that? It's cool. We can go right back into it. I was trying
you're beating
to
yourself up for not doing better, you might feel shame or inadequacy.
Good games though, you played well.
No, I dropped like multiple combos.
You did.
If
Yep.
you think your opponent wrong,
There's the salt, you heard
might
it.
Feel anger or resentment. And if you think there's something wrong with the game or environment, you might feel despair and frustration.
I shouldn't come there and lose to the monitor or the PS4.
If someone outplays me, that's good shit. But if I lose to somebody with online infrastructure as part of the matchup, that's the thing that gets me mad the most.
Dang, being salty about online. I try not to be salty about online. Like, I think it's because he has a full competitive mindset. So he's like from the arcade era. Justin's older than me. So he's from the full arcade era where you got broken buttons, you got like fucked up levers, maybe even a laggy monitor on the arcade cabinet itself, or someone shaking the whole fucking cabinet. So he knows about cheap shit, right? But that cheap shit, you have to do that next to a human being, right? You couldn't do it online knowing that, hey, there's 7 frames of delay or 7 frames of rollback. Like, get fucked. You have no idea what's happening. We're on 280 ms. I literally teleported across the screen. I try to take those and just roll with them and let it go, because it's just online. It doesn't matter that much. Even in a tournament setting, if it's a free online tournament, because most of them are, I still try not to think about it that much. It really only bothers me when I lose to something real corny like matchup check shit that, I mean, I skill issue, but matchup check shit that it costs me a tournament, or it costs me my life in the winner side of a bracket. That shit Ooh, that's what makes me salty.
If being so emotionally affected by competitive gaming seems odd or even pathological, consider how people behave in traditional sports. In any competitive game, players will inevitably suffer some form of psychological pain, which sounds bad, but I like to think of it like the inevitability of suffering physical pain in a sport
sports.
like soccer.
Yeah, growing pains,
Growth
baby.
through adversity is why we have competition in the first place.
Growing pains,
and
baby.
It's also why we have coaches. But if you're like most people, you probably don't have a coach, and you're probably not going to get a therapist just because you hate Blanca.
I think you should. I think if you are really like you're very susceptible to being upset after losing online in a video game or just in a video game in general, you should probably seek mental help. And that's not to like be mean. I think it can help you like better yourself or understand maybe why you get so mad at those situations. So he's joking, but I actually think you should do it. Because that therapist might have something positive to say that will change the way you're thinking about the game or the sport or the form of competition.
So is it possible to reduce salt on your own?
So salt is from
The
within.
self-help book Feeling Good by David Burns claims that you can alleviate your anxiety, depression, guilt, and anger with a concept called CBT, not closed beta test, but cognitive behavioral therapy. It may seem like overkill to treat video game salt with a book designed to restore people's will to live, but the same stuff applies, albeit with lower stakes. The core concept of CBT is simple. When your character gets KO'd and you lose in the most unfair way possible, it seems like your saltiness is a direct result of that,
Yeah.
but this isn't the case.
Ooh, okay.
Burns argues that you first see the thing that happened, but then you process what happened in your brain in what's called your internal dialogue, and that negative interpretation of the event is what makes you feel the salt. This idea has been around for a long time, going back to the Buddha and the Greek Stoic philosophers. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." But maybe you feel that the way you look at things is already very accurate, and any deviation would be an exercise in self-deception. Cognitive behavioral therapists argue that you can prove your negative thoughts wrong by identifying them and pointing out their fallacies, which are known as cognitive distortions.
Okay.
David Burns.
So I think what he's getting at is he's saying that you, by saying that you're bad or that you've already got the situation established, you're also being cognitively dissonant. Cognitively dissonant. Like you are mentally filtering out the things that could have changed an outcome in the way that you're perceiving the world or perceiving the game, the loss, the competition, the situation that made you salty. Like that is, I think that's one of the most powerful things about like the brain. The human brain does so much for teaching us how to control ourselves.
Burns has a list of 10 cognitive distortions, and calling them out in your internal dialogue is the key to feeling better. This is in no way a replacement for the book or seeking a therapist, but it'll give you an idea of how this stuff works, and maybe it'll save you from an embarrassing moment or two.
Or
All
two?
or nothing thinking.
Maybe five?
After getting eliminated from a tournament without winning a single match, your automatic thought might be, "I'm the worst." This is very
All right, look. You're not the only person who lost after not getting a win. You played your tournament and you went 0-2, but so did like, say it's like a 50-person bracket. So did like 20 other people, or like 12 other people, right? Let's think about that, okay? I think all 12 of you need to have a death match to find out who's really the worst. And then if you lose 0-2 again, and then 0-2 again, and then 0-2 again until there's no losers left, yeah, you might be the worst.
unlikely to be true. At the same Street Fighter 6 bracket mentioned earlier, the number of people who did not win a single match was 2,657 players. But even if you took those players and had everyone play each other in the largest round-robin tournament ever, you would find a last-place finisher, but would that player be guaranteed to be worse than this guy?
No.
Or how about this guy?
No, correct.
Don't
Yep.
play a whole lot of video games.
Words like worst, best, absolute, and completely are examples of all or nothing language.
Yeah. It's very hyperbolic language, and I think when you're putting those thoughts in your head of like really hyperbolic language of I'm the best or I'm the worst, it's very easy to crash out after that, right? You say I'm the best, and then immediately you get double 3-0'd by a Victor player, and you have a local homie who plays Victor, so you should know the matchup. Now you're gonna go from I'm the best to I'm the worst extremely fast. Like, that's because you're using hyperbolic language to describe situations or describe yourself. I don't think it's healthy, actually. It's something that I used to do a lot. Like, I think I used to say, oh, I'm the best. Oh my God, I'm so sick at this game. There's no one better than me. Now I'm like, dude, I'm sick nasty. Wow, that was tight. I did the coolest thing I've done today. Right? I try to reel back some of my emotions and some of even the reactions for stream, because I know that if I'm self-affirming that I feel that I'm the best or that I feel that I'm the worst, even as like maybe playing it up for the camera, it can mentally really drain you and get to you. It's something that you probably shouldn't do.
And while we casually use these terms all the time,
Worst episode ever.
most things are not black or white. All or nothing thinking is the root of perfectionism, the idea that any mistake means you're worthless. Not only is this untrue, perfect is an impossible expectation to satisfy, which means you'll constantly be disappointed until you realize that shades of gray exist. Overgeneralization. This is the false assumption that just because something didn't go your way, it will never go your way. This kind of automatic thought often comes after getting rejected. Whether you get rejected after a job interview, a first date, or just asking to get next game, it makes no sense that the outcome will be the same every time because the people and situations are always changing.
All right, this is gonna sound absolutely batshit crazy, and technically it is insane. The definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. I did that in high school, right? They say the worst someone can say is no. There was this girl I had a huge crush on in high school, massive crush, just couldn't get over. I was like, man, she's rejected me like 5 or 6 times. I'm just gonna ask again. So I went through this phase where I'd ask her, hey, let me take you out. Hey, let's hang out this weekend. Hey, like, let me take you to a movie. At least once a week, once or twice a week, I'd ask. And then one day it worked, right? I was insane, but I was insane with a purpose. If you discourage yourself, okay, now, once again, maybe that's harassment of some kind, but we were also friends, and she was like, whatever, this guy's like a little annoying, but like, we're still friends, right? We were at least emotionally honest about the fact that, yeah, you have a huge crush on me, but like, we could be friends, right? I'm like, yeah, we're still friends, but like, I'm still gonna try to take you out, right? Sure, right? Don't harass people, but say you walk up to a group of people and you ask for next game, and they're like, hey, we're doing a salty set right now, can't. No, this guy just beat me fucking 5-0. I gotta get this win. And then they play for another 8 games, and it's 12-1. He finally gets the fucking win. I think I did that math right. Finally gets the win. Try to go back and ask now, right? Hey, you guys still playing? Is there any way I can hop in? I'm just trying to get a few games before I gotta go home. Hey, I just want to maybe test out versus this cool thing I thought of versus Ken versus Luke versus Victor, Raven, Azia, etc. If there's ever a cross tag 2, that's what's gonna happen. Is all those characters are all in the same game again. That's just being able to handle rejection, and being able to handle rejection is really good for your mental health, because it means you can probably also handle losses. Because when you think about it, rejection is almost a loss.
We are not living in Groundhog Day, where every day is the same, and even if we were, changing your approach can lead to different results.
Something is different.
Which was the whole point of the movie.
Anything different is good.
The pain of rejection leads people to overgeneralize, and you even see this in-game. In Tekken, one of Kazuya's best moves is his health sweep because it's on reaction. But if it's blocked by a prediction or
you die,
he can be severely punished.
Yeah, you're fucking dead, loser. Try that shit again, bitch.
A player who overgeneralizes might get their health.
He's about to say it. I was gonna say the same thing. I hit someone with 8 lows. They block a low finally. And the first thing I think is, oh my god, this guy's blocking every low! I can't use lows anymore, man! He blocked 1 out of like 9. You can't fucking do that.
Sweep rejected once, think, what's the point? My health sweep will never work, and stop using one of his
I'm gonna
best
do it again,
tools for the
bitch.
rest of the match.
You tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try.
The best Kazuya players refuse to let this
Love
happen.
that.
Oh my god!
Mental
Mental filter. This is when you focus on one bad thing about a situation while ignoring all the positives, and then claiming the whole situation is bad. Justin Wong is one of the greatest fighting game players of all time, but he's also known for one of the greatest losses of all time.
Like, even Moment 37 lives in his head rent-free, right? It's just like maybe the Perfect Legend, like 13-0. A lot of people let it live in their head rent-free that happened to Perfect Legend. I don't think PL thinks about it as much as we all. Right? Same thing with Justin. I don't think Justin thinks about this moment, which is one of the hypest wins of all time, or in his case, one of the hypest losses of all time. I don't think he thinks about it a lot, right? Because he's probably filtered this out. Like, yeah, that was a tournament set. I lost it, but I just got to move on. Like, no one's going, hey, Justin, Moment 37. And if they do, he's like, yeah, man, it was a good set, and he just keeps walking. Right? I think Justin, he takes those losses on his chin, which is a good thing. I think he does a great job of that. Now, when you look at the big picture, the broader picture, I think what he's trying to get at here, and he'll probably explain it himself as well, is you'll see that you have a life deficit, a round loss, and you're like, dude, this game's over. I can't win. Like, there's no way I can beat this guy. Maybe I just GG's go next. But he's also got 0 bars of meter, tier 3. He's in burnout, and you have a full drive gauge. Like, the game's not over. And a lot of people hyperfixate on, they see that their health bar is low and that there's 1v on their opponent's side. And they just got hit by a level 3. So that's what's in their head is, dude, this game's over. Holy shit, this Oki's gonna kill me. Oh my gosh, I got hit by fucking Bardock level 3 at the beginning of Dragon Ball FighterZ. And he used his spark, and this is the last character. I have 2 characters left. He mixes me once. Okay, cool. He mixes me once. He's already out of sparking. Can't look at the fact that you got hit by level 3 and lost 1 character and still have 2 left versus a Bardock with no sparking and no meter. That's not a good way to look at things, right? Hyperfixating on the negatives instead of focusing on all the potential positives that could be happening in the situation.
Moment 37. While one could imagine how devastating this loss would have been, Justin didn't dwell on it much at all.
So I don't think I got salty when like that moment happened. To us,
See?
it was like, that was good shit, right?
Yeah, that was hype.
That was wow. Like, I'd never seen that before. The Daigo was Tuesday. I lost that set, but I was not salty because, like, ultimately in the end, Marvel Top 8 was after that Daigo parry. I won Marvel pretty free.
That was his 4th EVO title in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The way he lost in Third Strike was spectacular, but that didn't make his Marvel trophy suddenly disappear.
Yep.
When you filter out all the things you've accomplished and only think about that one mistake, you're making a lowlight reel in your head and putting it on repeat. Imagine making a reel of Tiger Woods missing putts and
that right there. Oh, like imagine replaying that moment in your head every single day when you wake up, every single day when you're trying to eat lunch, every single day before you go to sleep. You are going to have an awful time mentally.
Bad golfer. It's absurd, but your automatic thoughts love to do that. Anything can seem bad if you censor all its good qualities.
Yep.
Disqualifying the positive. This one goes one step further than mental filter. Instead of ignoring the positive things about something, you take it and somehow say it doesn't count.
23 wins against... Yeah, I have a 23 win streak on ranked in Master, and I'm Grandmaster. Lose to 1 person. I must have been beating scrubs all fucking day. Oh my gosh. I run into a real player and I finally lose. Everyone's so much better than me. I'm playing against all shitters.
When someone compliments you on your gameplay, you might have an automatic thought like, they're just being nice. When you win a match, you might think, I was lucky, or they were going easy on me. Of course, you might want to be humble like Ryu.
I still don't have what it takes. I must train harder.
He just beat the shit out of this guy and he's like, I gotta keep training. It's like, bro, I'm already dead.
But at some point, you have to celebrate your victories, big
right.
or small, if you want to enjoy this activity.
I get an anti-air in a spot where, like, normally I miss my anti-airs consistently. I land a conversion in a way where I'm optimize or maximize the amount of damage or drive gauge damage or heat I took away from the opponent that I could have in something like Tekken or Street Fighter. And I celebrate those little moments. I'm like, yes, like, dude, fuck yeah, I finally got that anti-air. Oh my gosh, I put him at the wall here. I don't have to worry about heat anymore. Oh, I knocked him into burnout. Yes, right? The game's not over, but just those little moments. Those are the moments I think really we play for. Outplaying the opponent. Even if you don't win, you're outplaying the opponent and you're having fun. And that, like, you kind of have to have that ebb and flow because there's going to be peaks and there's going to be valleys all the time.
Even Daigo, who has written about his aversion to complacency, mentions in his book that he celebrates his victories. It's just that he keeps them short.
Yep.
If every time you win you think it was a fluke or I just got lucky, then you might just be disqualifying the positive. Jumping to conclusions. This is when you automatically come to a negative conclusion about something without proper evidence, basically acting like a terrible detective. There are two ways this comes about. One is called mind reading, hastily assuming that others are thinking lowly of you. This is when you're
Dude, I did wake up level 3. This guy probably thinks I'm a fucking scrub. Oh my gosh. Like, no, he's probably like, holy shit, I'm so glad I baited that. What he should be thinking instead of, this guy's a fucking idiot, loser, wasting all 3 of his bars just for me to fuck him. You know, like, I was gonna say something way more vulgar. He's probably thinking, I'm so glad I blocked for that level 3. Holy crap, man. Dude, that was a call out. I'm so good, right? And that's probably the healthier thing to think.
your friend isn't responding to your text message and you immediately think they're disrespecting you
or ignoring you.
A million reasons why they're not answering.
Yeah.
Mind reading is particularly insidious when playing online ranked. Because there's little to no communication outside of the gameplay, it's easy to assume that your opponent has no respect for you even when they're playing their game just like you are.
Yeah, they could be sitting back big chilling on the other side of the screen, like listening to Payphone by Maroon 5. And you're over here, the sweaty guy, just fucking snarling and shit. And like, sometimes you just gotta calm down. It's just a video game, you know? Especially in competitive or non-tournament situations. A lot of times people are just vibing, playing, having fun. I lose a lot of sets in Street Fighter 6, but I'm still having fun. I'm like, oh, this guy beat me again. This guy beat me again. And I just keep running my head into the wall. And it's not because like, oh man, I really want this win. Like, no, I'm having fun having this back and forth with my opponent, trying to figure out how to beat the code, how to crack the code, how to get the hits, how to get him to the corner, how to make my approaches better. That's what I'm doing. Hopefully other people can think positively.
The only way you can know
I didn't always think that way.
What your online opponent is truly thinking is by having special powers.
Let's talk about power. Real power.
Son of a bitch.
The second way to jump to conclusions is called the fortune teller error. This is when you become...
You see a character that you traditionally lose to in ranked, and the first thing you think is, dude, today's not my day. I'm gonna lose again. Like, I can't, you know, show off my cool thing. I'm not gonna be able to do any of this stuff I want to do. This matchup is awful. I always lose it.
I'm pessimist Nostradamus and predict unrealistically bad outcomes as fact. It's one thing to go to a tournament and predict I probably won't get first place, but it's another to think when I lose, they're all gonna laugh at me.
I think that's insane how
More
people think that.
Is that when you lose, you'll be like over 99.9% of the entrants who will get eliminated in bracket. Fortune telling can be particularly distracting during a match.
And I think that's a big thing about being a high-level competitive player or a very well-known competitive player, even if you're not good, is people are going to laugh at when you lose. Right? You lose it. You're Arsenal Nash. You make it to grand finals 4 times in a row. You win every time. And I was like, dude, Arsenal Nash is the best. He's been the best in 7. Like, hold that shit. Hold my nuts, asshole. Arsenal Nash is the best. Arsenal Nash makes it into top 8, and then loses first round of top 8. Oh, Arsenal Nash is a scrub. He's scrubbed out. Fucking his time's over. He's washed. Fuck that guy. Not good anymore. That's what's gonna happen when you're a high-level competitive player. When you're like nobody, or maybe even like a Twitch streamer that people know, but like not super prominent or anything, you're not a competitive powerhouse, yeah, like people aren't really going to think about the fact that you lost. You're just like everyone else. And even when you're Arsenal Nash or Rangchu and you lose, you're still just like everyone else. There's only one winner the whole day and everyone else is a fucking loser. Respectfully, of course. And that's fine, right? Because that's part of the growth and the experience of competing.
Something you often hear from the best players is not to think about the outcome of the match during the match.
게임을 하고 있는 도중에 다른 생각이 가끔 들 때가 있는데 그러면 보통 그 게임은 져요. 이거 져서 패자조로 가면은 다음 상대가 누구누군데 정말 힘들 것 같은데 어떻게 하지? 이런 생각을 할 때도 있어가지고 대회가 잘 될 때는 그런 생각 없이 그냥 게임에만 집중해가지고 잘 되는 경우가 많고.
And that's gonna do it.
Yep.
Our first ever Tekken World Tour Tekken 8 champion is gonna be Barrel Rangchu.
Every moment you think the thought, I must not lose, is a moment taken away from
I cannot lose!
Next move. If you have an automatic thought that tries to read people's minds or predict the future, call it out. You don't have magical powers. Magnification and minimization. Magnification is when you take something bad and blow it out of proportion. And minimization is taking something good and downplaying
making it very small. Yeah, I want Evo, but like, I won Evo a year where like none of the Japanese players showed up, and the ones that did, they like weren't very good, and my bracket was super easy. Like, so my Evo win doesn't even really count, man. Think about how fucking stupid that's. And the magnification, the opposite, right? Ah, dude, I lost Evo. I got second place. I'm the worst fucking player in the world. I lost it by a pixel, and all I had to do was block punish, and I didn't. So I'm the worst player ever.
Significance. A great example of magnification is when someone taunts you during a match.
He did a taunt combo to Punk in
Yeah.
Grand Finals of Evo.
What's interesting about taunting in fighting games is that it loses its power to provoke if it has a clear benefit in the gameplay. Third Strike players expect others to use the taunt command because they know it gives characters various buffs.
Yep.
This is not disrespect. But
It's part of the game.
G-charge is a move that buffs your next attack while removing your ability to
block, which is
it's
way
seriously
worse.
Useless. But it's now widely seen as a taunt, even though it was designed as a move. What this all means is that for a taunt to be effective as a tool of psychological warfare, it must be useless in the game. For use.
Oh my gosh. You know, and I love that because what do you do there when you're wrong? Oh, you just get fucking hit. You can't block, idiot.
Useless thing to become a
Fucked
big
up.
deal, you need magnification, also known as catastrophizing.
Oh my god!
All right, I'm gonna be honest. That one would have fucking got me, dude. I might have been a little mad, dude. Just a little.
On the other end, you
The
can minimize
speed back,
significance
bro.
of a good
Oh
thing.
my
A
gosh.
common way of doing this is making your accomplishment seem smaller by comparing it to another accomplishment. Winning your first match in a
Like, I won a local, but like the guy that I beat has won like a bunch of Texas showdowns. He's won a bunch of like combo breakers and CEOs. Like, I just got lucky, you know? Like, I won local versus him, but like he's won all these majors.
tournament is a big deal until you tell yourself that it's not as good as making it out of pools. But you can be like this even if you win Evo 9 times. You can say it wasn't 10 times, and so on. If you can only hold L's and not take W's, of course you'll feel like you only lose. Emotional reasoning. This is when you think the way you feel is evidence for the truth of the situation. This isn't to say your feelings should never be trusted. Intuitions rooted in experience can save lives.
True.
But your feelings would not pass as proof in a serious court case. How reasonable do
that!
you think these automatic thoughts sound? I'm mad at my opponent, therefore they wronged me somehow. This game seems impossible to learn, so it is impossible to learn.
Yeah, those are both unreasonable, right? People learn Tekken. You can be mad at your opponent, but your opponent just played the game and played the game well.
I feel like I'm playing poorly, therefore I am playing poorly.
That's like a self-affirmation. That one's hard because, I mean, you could actually be playing poorly, but just because you feel like you're playing poorly doesn't mean you actually are. There's tons of times where I feel like I'm playing poorly, but everything I do works out. So it's like, did I play poorly or was I in my own head? And you have to ask yourself that. You have to think about it.
Case closed.
Well, look at that.
When spoken out loud, these statements sound ridiculous. In competitive gaming, you often need to be your own coach and spit out some facts to counter your emotional reasoning. Are you actually playing worse than usual, or did your opponent find a counter to your strategy? Should or must statements. The psychotherapist Albert Ellis described 3 thoughts that hold us back. One is the idea that I must do well or I'm worthless. The second one is that others must treat me well or they're worthless. And finally, the third one is that the world must give me exactly what I want now or the world is worthless.
Because of the must. If you didn't masturbate, then you wouldn't awfulize, terribilize, catastrophize, say I can't stand it, and put yourself down.
The problem with saying I should or must do something is that it creates pressure, guilt, and anxiety.
I must train harder.
Yeah, that was me like running in my head into the wall to try to learn how to use this all button controller. I don't have to do this. I'm choosing to do this. It's like part of what's going to make me better at all button controller. But saying that I must do it is like an easy way to trick yourself into feeling bad, into not having fun with whatever the task at hand is.
This makes training feel like a burden,
Like a
because
chore.
it's now an obligation you can fail to uphold.
Yep. Dude, I practiced for 4 hours and I didn't learn the combos that I was trying to learn. I can't believe I'm this bad. Like, what? Just, it's okay. Maybe next
If
session.
instead you were to say, I will train harder,
Yep.
it changes the focus from pressure to passion. There are many alternatives to saying should or must that convey your values
I'll do my best to practice today. I should practice. I will practice. I will try my best. Not, I should try my best. I have to practice today. I will do my best.
If you're only stuck with, I'd like very much to do well, but I never have to, then you wouldn't disturb yourself.
Now, when you say someone else should or must treat you a certain way, you're putting your expectations of people unreasonably high, and when they fail to meet those expectations, which is inevitable, you will feel resentment, hostility, or anger. When playing online, someone might taunt you and you might—
oh my gosh, the Chun-Li taunt!
That. But if the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius were alive today, he would not be surprised in the slightest. In Meditations, he—
I'm sorry, what was the quote? The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. No, I'm gonna taunt back. Fuck that.
Alive today.
I'm gonna try to win and taunt back. No, this will be a vicious cycle of violence. I answer violence with violence, motherfucker.
He would not be surprised in the slightest. In Meditations, he writes, begin the morning by saying to yourself, I shall meet with the meddling, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. A Stoic reminder that instead of spending energy on things you cannot control, use it on other things like getting good.
Yeah, you could go back and watch the replay and get better, or you could run your head into a brick wall and just have fun with the fact that you lost, right? Like, if it was in ranked, like, you can't get your run back, fine. Go look at how to maybe beat the situation so it won't happen again. But if you're playing, like, a casual set and someone, like, taunts you, or you're playing at locals and you can't beat the person, you just keep playing. Sit down and keep playing. Maybe ask some questions, right? Like, dude, is that -8 or is that -6? Like, I can't punish that with what I think I can. Maybe ask some questions. If they don't want to answer you, then you got to go into the lab and shit. But, you know, just keep playing.
Last way to use should or must statements is that the world should be a certain way this instant. When it's not, you feel helpless and frustrated. Perhaps you want a fighting game to be more balanced. You can't change it right now, but you can adapt.
Correct.
Labeling. What if
instead of complaining about the problems in the game, you can look for solutions to the problems. There's a lot of things in fighting games that I don't like, right? Especially in games that I love and adore. I dislike the shit out of a lot of systems in Soul Calibur 6. I don't like Soul Charge. I think it's way too strong. I think Soul Charge is like one of the best get off me tools I've ever seen in a fucking fighting game. Especially with how the game performs, right? I think early days, reversal edge going through guard, one of the most fucked up situations, once again, I've ever seen in a fighting game. Like, totally not okay. Very messed up Oki on a lot of characters. So it's just about figuring out how to beat those situations or how to abuse those situations yourself. So that instead of saying, this game is bad and I don't like it for X reasons, you can say, this game has some problems, but, like, I'm learning it. This game has some problems, but, you know, it's fun when you play through them. And that's a big shift, because that's how I felt about Soul Calibur 6 for a long time. The better I got, the more I kind of wrestled with the idea that I didn't like the game because of X reason. And that was a mental block. That was a mental block. And once I busted through that mental block, I realized, oh, holy shit, I can get so much better by, instead of complaining about these things that are super cheap, very corny, downright degenerate, because there were some very degenerate things, especially early Soul Calibur 6. Instead of, you know, breaking my head, instead of bonking my head on it, I needed to punch through that layer and start using those things, or start learning how to properly play into situations that would keep me away from those things or out of those situations to get better, right? Instead of saying, oh, reverse ledge is too strong, I can't beat it, I don't know what to do, I started learning reverse ledge save strings. Instead of saying, oh, soul charge is too strong and I don't like it, or soul charge is too strong and I can't beat it when someone pops it, I started to learn to just start blocking, start backing away when someone's going to soul charge. So that they have to waste more of their soul charge time trying to reset to neutral or get back in a state of advantage. I can just run away from you. You're losing, the timer stopped, nothing's going on, and then after you pop your soul charge and you're out, maybe I have one. Now I can do the same cheap shit you tried to do to me.
In Street Fighter, instead of saying you lose each time you lost, it said you are a loser. This change would not go unnoticed because we know there's a huge leap between losing a game and becoming a loser. That's because the word loser is a label, and the problem with labels is that it reduces a complex human being into a simple stereotype. If losing in a game made you a loser, then the best players of that game are all losers because they've lost more games than anyone.
Yep.
Using negative labels on yourself only serves to make you feel worthless. Conversely, you can use negative labels on others to protect your ego, but it generates hostility and prevents self-reflection. If you call your opponent a coward, it's on them to change, but if you call them a defensive player, it's on you.
No, I mean, look, if someone's a coward, you can still choose to try to break through their defenses. Like, you can call someone a coward, but understand that what you're saying is that they're a defensive player. But I guess if you're stuck in the mindset of they're a coward, and like you're like, this guy needs to approach me, this guy needs to play the way I want him to play. Yeah, that's an issue. You probably should look inward and realize, like, hey, this is a video game, and if he's trying to win, then what he's doing is probably right.
It might feel good to label others, but it won't help you win. Personalization. This is when you put way too much blame on yourself for a negative outcome. This can lead to guilt and even apologizing for things out of your control.
I was playing against a player and I was about to lose the set. It was like a pretty close set. I played this character named Hawkman. He had the super that he could charge up to full charge and it would become unblockable. It's really bad. You have to be like asleep at the wheel to get hit by this. But
you hit him with it?
I'm gonna lose the set. I gotta make something happen. So
you hit him with it!
Really gimmicky setup. And I win.
Oh no!
God. I am so sorry. It turns out when you lose in a tournament set, the last thing you want to hear is the guy apologizing to you.
Yeah, that makes you even saltier. I feel like if I lost to someone and they were like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. Like, I'd be like, dude, don't be sorry. You fucking won. Like, fuck off. Like, that's my honest reaction to the situation. Like, I don't want to hear an apology if I'm mad.
A stupid kid that I am, I was like, I'm sorry for saying sorry, and then it just like kept getting worse and worse. And then eventually, one of my friends said it, Willie, he said, they shouldn't call you wall jump man. They should call you
apology man.
We do this because taking
and that's his tag
is respectful, and it's why when accepting a loss, we say things like, this loss is all on me, I didn't train enough, and I will work hard to do better next time. But is anything really the result of one person? Imagine how strange it would be to win a tournament, go on the mic, and just say, this win is all because of me, and I deserve all the credit. Not a single person helped me in any way to get to where I am today, so thank me and good night.
Wait a minute, okay. I understand it's supposed to be hyperbolic both ways, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Isn't the earnest all on you to compete and get better? Right? Even if people are sparring with you to help you get better, that sparring with you only goes so far if you choose to take the level up, to use it as constructive ways to get better. Right? Like, he's being hyperbolic, but I have to play devil's advocate there. I have to.
Neither of these statements make much sense. Whether the one who loses can attribute the loss to anything else without sounding like excuses is another matter. But the truth is,
the monitors at the venue, the monitors at the venue were super laggy.
Is
barely playable. All right, punk, that's fine. I mean, I do understand when something is unplayable and not fun. That's why I don't play Virtua Fighter 5 Revo.
But the truth is, no outcome, good or bad, can be entirely attributed to one person. Now that you've gotten an idea of the 10 cognitive distortions, you might have noticed a couple of things. A person who purposefully tries to exacerbate your distortions is often called a bully, and someone who tries to fix your distortions are usually called a friend. We tend to be our own worst bully.
You'll die by your own hand.
But rarely do we treat ourselves like a friend when we have a negative automatic thought.
That's a nice jacket you've got there.
I love that. That's so funny.
A complete failure, you're basically saying a villain character's win quote to yourself when you would never call your friend a complete failure who's in this.
Right, like your friend failed. He's like, I'm a failure. And the bully's like, yeah, you are. You're going to pick your friend up and be like, look, bro, like it happened. Let's get away from this guy. This guy's an asshole. You're gonna be like, yeah, dude, you fucking suck, bitch, and then like leave him on the ground. You're at least gonna pick him up, which is like a part of like the healing process.
Same situation. You would likely say something like, a single loss doesn't make you a failure.
No,
it's true, so
yeah, you're right.
Just be lying to spare their feelings.
Yeah, you're right.
Why not treat yourself like your own best friend when you have cognitive distortions? This is what David Burns calls the double standard technique. And it's powerful because it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But even with ways to reduce salt, not everyone wants to be salt-free. If you could press a magic button that made all your salt and negative thoughts go away, would you do it?
No, I would never press that button.
I would never press that button because sometimes, you know, we get motivated by salt, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say being salty is not always a bad thing. Sometimes you need salt as a driver of improvement. Or as a driver of self-reflection. Like, you need it. If we were... Because I still get salty, not so bad anymore, but I still do. And when I do, it's usually that I need to, right after I need to take a second, realize I'm playing a video game, realize I'm doing something that's like making me upset, and just reel it back. I come back to reality and realize, hey, I'm doing this thing that's supposed to be fun. Why am I not just having fun with it? You know? Hey, I'm doing this thing that I'm supposed to be competing at, being the best at. Why am I mad? I played my best there. I did as good as I could, and that guy just played better than me. That's awesome. Good for him. Like, and you have to. Those are those realizations, those wheels that turn in your head that you have to let turn. If there was no way to get salty ever, you're probably a sociopath. Something might be wrong with your brain, and that's scary. That means you don't have the ability to look inwards and grow. Probably.
People who don't get salty aren't winners, in my opinion. I don't think
Oh, wow.
a player that
Okay.
I know that don't get salty that wins. Every single player that y'all see win Street Fighter or NBA championship, NFL, Super Bowl, whatever the
that's
case
true.
may be.
You look at Travis Kelce after the Super Bowl this year, and he's usually the person on the team who is well-spoken, eloquent, to the point, and like perfect to talk to for reporters and after-match analysts. They send out Kelce. Kelce had no words after their loss versus the. He had no words because he was shocked, he was stunned, he was salty, and it was very hard for him to get out words that would have made sense at the time and for millions of people to see. So instead, he said nothing. He was, I can't really talk right now. I can't. And he walked away. And everyone was like, that's so unprofessional of him. How dare he not say anything? It's like, dude, he's salty. And he's trying to make sure he doesn't make the team, the coaches, the fans, the players, the league look bad. But he knows that he's salty, and he's going to work on it. And that's what he went to go do. Like, I don't personally like the Chiefs, but I think that was the most respectable thing you could do there instead of going up there and making excuses and sounding like a dipshit for all of the world to see. That was salt. That right there, that moment, outside of fighting games, in a competitive national North American football match at the end of it, that was salt. And he's a champion. They have 2 rings. I think he has more than 2 rings, but they had a 2-peat. Back-to-back, got crushed by the Eagles. But that is, I guess Punk's right. That is the breath of a champion. That salt is going to be the driver for them to maybe make it back to the Super Bowl again next year. Maybe at least make it into the playoffs again next year.
Every last one of them, you can find extremely salty clips about them. So I think no one who wins anything in life is happy all the time. You know, it's just impossible. You have to have that little salt because that's like the competitive edge. If you don't have that, I feel like you can't really go far in competitions.
For me, salty is necessary for me to realize what's wrong. So salty itself is okay, not bad.
Yeah, it's just a part of it.
How to use it.
Yep.
So if salt is a fuel that motivates players to get better, then why are we trying to eradicate it?
We're not. I think it's about reducing salt rather than eradicating it. I think it's about controlling the salt and using the salt to create something better for yourself. Instead of just like taking the salt and beating yourself down with it and not doing anything positive after the fact. No self-reflection, no looking inwards, no using it for growth. If you're not doing any of those things, yeah, you probably just want to be salty less.
Failure after losing means you have high standards for yourself. Getting angered by your opponent taunting you likely means you have a sense of dignity and fairness. When you personalize a negative outcome, even if it wasn't your fault, it shows that you are empathetic. So instead of a magic button, Burns suggests you think of it as a magic dial. For example, I'm a complete failure dialed down is I wish I did better, which serves the same purpose without making you overly sad. By toning down the excess salt instead of removing it altogether, you can still do you while having enough salt to season your next victory.
Use your salt from today to season your next victory.
So the
There you
question
go.
remains,
That's a good
why
way to
play
put it.
competitive games that put you through all this?
Punk, yeah. I mean, he's got to feel some kind
Yeah,
of...
getting second there. I remember this. This was when Tokido like taunt comboed him in grand finals. This is Street Fighter 5. Man, what a loss. A devastating loss.
way after that.
But look at him now. Our most recent Street Fighter champion.
Crazy run.
Because playing with
Evo
others
champion.
is a chance to learn about yourself in an environment where mistakes are not life or death.
And that's him getting first.
You can say anything you want about this kid. He is an Evo champion, and you can never take that away from him.
In the book, The Anxious Generation, Jonathan
for
Haidt
him.
argues that children need to go out and play more with real people instead of being isolated to their smartphones and other screen-based activities.
Boo!
Protected our children in the real world and underprotected them online.
He writes, "It is an unsupervised, child-led play where children best learn to tolerate bruises, handle their emotions, read other children's emotions, take turns, resolve conflicts, and play fair." Though he acknowledges the benefits of gaming, he is skeptical that online gaming could be as beneficial as hanging out with friends in the real world.
I think a bigger thing is, if you were always constantly looking over your kid's shoulder without letting them roam around to figure out and explain and learn things for themselves and then come back and ask you questions about it, then they're probably not going to learn anything because you're too busy sheltering them, whether it's online or offline, right? Kids need to be able to be kids. They need to learn, like, don't touch the fire. But you have to let them touch the fire to fucking figure it out, right? You have to let them learn, hey, don't jump off that, it's too high, you might hurt yourself. Boom, they hurt themselves, right? You need to get those cuts, those bruises, even the physical and emotional bruises. You need those because that's how you grow as a person. And I think that, like, you know, all of the technology maybe has stunted the growth of the generations behind me, you know, the 8-9-year-olds right now, but it can still change. And this is part of it. Yeah, just like understanding it's not just that it's the technology, it's also that people are so sheltered and people are so scared to let the walled garden down around their kids. Like, hey, the walled garden's down, go nuts. Please be as smart as you can and come back, right? And then when they come back and they have questions, answer the questions. They have bruises, physical or emotional ones, help them tend to those bruises. Help them understand why they have those bruises, why they feel the way they do, so they can learn more about themselves.
I agree, which is why I think offline gaming is the perfect complement. This is where your ability to accept defeat and handle emotions is tested in front of real people.
I would tell the salty guy, you know, that whatever your behavior is, be it salt or rage, it's gonna affect other players. Most of the people, when I told them that, you know, they tend to control their salt better. They're forced to control because they don't want to look bad, you know, as a human. And in that way, they slowly improve, but they start to learn how to control something which they never ever do. So it's a effect that, it's a chain effect that eventually I realized it works very good and it became very healthy for the whole community.
You know, it's like you're basically processing the salt to become a better person, right? You're not letting that, you're not acting on emotions right away. So, you know, it's building character.
And this is why I feel
That's
the
what I just said.
open bracket fighting game tournament
Hey,
is
Jeremy.
so valuable, and I never want to see it die off. It's one of the final vestiges of face-to-face human interaction in competitive gaming where anyone can join, get salty, and fist bump afterwards.
That's not true. There's also card games. I think that's a big deal, is mentioning that card games and fighting games share a lot of similarities in that way. I think that offline card game events are another way that you can, you know, grow as a person, you know, still have meaningful community and human interaction too. That's why I want to start playing card games again, right? Fighting game tournaments are way more expensive than card game tournaments. Let's be fucking just completely honest here. Not gear aside, because card games, the decks are real pricey, but the actual open bracket system is the same. Actually, the open bracket system is probably better in a lot of card games because you play Swiss, where you play as many matches as you can up until top cut, and then if you don't make top cut, whatever that cutoff is, whether it goes, you know, 1,000 players to top 128, then top 8, right? If you didn't make the top 128, boom, you're cut out. But you got to play like a full day of a card game, a full day of Magic the Gathering, a full day of Pokemon, a full day of Yu-Gi-Oh! And as you were doing that, you were having human interactions with real people offline in a venue filled with people that share at least a similar hobby and maybe interest with you.
This was Gerald from Corey Gaming. Thanks for watching. This video is sponsored by all you patrons
I
and
don't
YouTube
skip
members
ads.
who directly support this
So if there's an
channel.
ad at the
It
end,
is
we're
greatly
watching it.
appreciated.
Cool,
Members
Corey
get
Gaming's
full access
videos.
to all
They're
podcast
really good.
episodes, including the ones featured in the video you just saw, as well as extended interviews.
Honestly, I think salt is only a problem if it becomes physical.
But you can still access the best bits of the podcast for free.
I'm gonna be real. I think some parts of Salt, even when they're not physical, are a little like pushing the edge a little, right? Maybe being aggressive towards people and calling people things that you shouldn't. bullying, and like not even really like real bullying that's like almost targeted because someone hurt your feelings in a video game. That's probably not okay, right? Especially if you're not friends, if you don't know the person, if it's like a random set at a tournament. Like, you know, me and my friends, we do it to each other at locals, but it's because we have some amount of respect for each other. Like, we know each other on a at least somewhat personal level, so it makes it more okay. It's less okay when it's like a random person. I think that is a line that you could potentially cross. That's a little bit of a slippery slope because you don't know how everyone's going to react. You don't know how everyone was raised.
By checking out our new YouTube channel called The Core A Lounge.
Oh, wow.
What was your like kind of foray into Street Fighter, I guess, in fighting games in general? Were you like a Punch-Out person randomly or something that and later, I don't know. We'll also be moving our live stream over there. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing to the new channel. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna go subscribe to Core A Lounge right now. I think this was a great video. I think you guys should go watch the full thing as well, even if you're just watching it while you're listening to, while you're like playing your cool MMORPGs or your ARPGs like Path to Exile, or you're playing Marvel Rivals on your main monitor. Listen to this full video again without any of my yapping. Like the video and subscribe to his channel. All those metrics help. Like, because clearly he mentioned it. He didn't just say that, hey, this is a sponsor and I want you to go watch my sponsor. He wants you to also just watch and subscribe to the channel. That's the same thing I ask people to do. So, hey guys, if you enjoyed his movie and you liked my commentary over his movie, like and subscribe. Thanks. Like and subscribe. Goodbye. Bye YouTube. Bye chat. Bye YouTube.